Have you ever made a decision that felt so right, only to realize later it was completely wrong? What if I told you that your mind is playing tricks on you all the time, using mental shortcuts that lead to bad choices without you even realizing it? That's where Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman steps in. Widely regarded as one of the most influential books on human psychology, this masterpiece dives deep into how we think, why we fall into mental traps, and how to overcome them. Kahneman, a Nobel Prize-winning psychologist, takes decades of groundbreaking research and presents it in a way that helps us understand the hidden forces shaping our decisions, whether it's at work, in relationships, or with money. It's been praised as a must-read by the New York Times, The Guardian, and thought leaders like Bill Gates, who called it one of the most important books of our time. And before we jump in, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more insightful summaries like this one to help sharpen your mind if you want. If you want to dive deeper into the fascinating insights of Thinking Fast and Slow and apply these lessons to your own life, grab your copy from the link in the description. Imagine this: you see 2 plus 2 and the answer pops up in your head instantly. System 1 at work. But when I ask you what's 17 times 24, you pause, think, and probably reach for a calculator. That's System 2 kicking in. Kahneman explains that System 1 works fast, intuitively, and without conscious effort. It's the reason you recognize a friend's face in a crowd without thinking. But it's also prone to errors, jumping to conclusions, misjudging risks, and falling for stereotypes. System 2, on the other hand, is slow and analytical. It takes over when things get complicated, like planning a budget or solving a tough puzzle. The problem? We're lazy with System 2. Most of the time, we rely on System 1, even for decisions where careful thought is needed, leading to costly mistakes. Heuristics and biases, the mental shortcuts that mislead us. Let's say you walk into a store and see a shirt labeled 50% off. You might feel good about snagging a deal, but here's the twist. Kahneman introduces anchoring bias, where our brain sticks to an initial piece of information, like the original price tag, and uses it to judge value, even if it's irrelevant. Another trap? Availability bias. Ever felt scared of flying because of a recent news story about a plane crash? Even though flying is statistically safer than driving, that story sticks in your mind, making you overestimate the risk. These biases are how our brain tries to simplify decisions, but they often lead us astray. Why we think we know more than we do think about the last time you felt certain about a choice, whether it was a stock investment or picking a restaurant. Later, you might have realized you missed key information. Kahneman calls this overconfidence bias, which happens when we mistake our assumptions for facts. There's also what you see is all there is. Our brain's tendency to form conclusions based only on what's immediately available, ignoring all other possibilities. This is why we sometimes make big decisions based on limited information, thinking we have enough to go on. The planning fallacy. Why we always underestimate time and costs. Ever started a home renovation project thinking it would take a week, only for it to stretch into a month? That's the planning fallacy in action. Kahneman explains how we naturally underestimate the time, effort, and money things will take because we focus on best-case scenarios. It's not just individuals. Whole governments and corporations fall into this trap when planning projects. A major takeaway here is learning to build in extra time or budget when planning anything, because things rarely go as smoothly as we expect. Prospect theory. The pain of losses versus the joy of gains. Here's a scenario. Would you rather win $100 or avoid losing $100? Most people prefer to avoid a loss even though the value is the same. This is the essence of prospect theory, one of Kahneman's most influential contributions. He explains that we feel the pain of loss more intensely than the joy of an equivalent gain, a phenomenon called loss aversion. This theory has huge implications, from how we invest in the stock market to how companies price their products. It's why sales often emphasize avoiding losses, like don't miss out, rather than focusing on potential gains. The two selves, the experiencing versus the remembering self. Think about a vacation you've been on. Maybe the first few days were stressful, but by the end, you were relaxed and happy. Now, when someone asks about the trip, you probably say it was great, even if it wasn't all smooth sailing. This is because of what Kahneman calls the remembering self, the part of you that evaluates experiences in hindsight, often ignoring the details of the moment. In contrast, the experiencing self is the part of you that lives in the moment. But here's the kicker. It's the remembering self that influences your future decisions. This is why you might go back to a restaurant you didn't enjoy at the time, just because your memory of it is pleasant. So what can we learn from all this? Kahneman's key message is that your brain isn't as rational as you think it is. We often rely on fast thinking, System 1, to make decisions, even when slow thinking, System 2, would serve us better. Along the way, we fall for cognitive traps like overconfidence, availability bias, and loss aversion. But now that you know these mental shortcuts, you can start catching yourself before they lead you into mistakes. The next time you feel overconfident about a decision, ask yourself, am I relying too much on what's immediately available? Or give yourself extra time when planning something. You'll thank yourself later. Which cognitive bias affects you the most? Overconfidence, availability bias, or loss aversion? Drop a comment below and let's discuss. And if this video gave you some new insights, hit that like and subscribe button for more mind-opening book summaries. Thanks for sticking around till the end. Remember, awareness is the first step to better decisions. Stay sharp, and I'll catch you in the next one.